You have an outer table of bone, and then you have the inner table of the bone, and in between these two you have a vascular tissue which is called as the diplo of the skull. Okay, the outer table is somewhat thick and it is covered by the pericranium, and the inner table of the bone is somewhat thin compared to the outer table, and it is covered by the endocranium, which is mainly formed by the endosteal layer of the dura mater. So these sutural ligaments, mainly what happens is they help to hold these two bones together, and they extend from the pericranium to the endocranium. Okay. Now, in the developing fetus, and also in the uh, what do you call young children which are below the 2 years of age, at certain points of the skull, so mainly the vault of the skull, you see some membranes which are not still ossified. Okay, and these membranes are actually called as the fontanelles. Okay, so these membranous areas where what happens, still it is not replaced by bone tissue, is actually called as the fontanelles. You have the almost six fontanelles in the skull, one anterior and one posterior fontanelle, and then you have a pair of anterolateral and posterolateral fontanelles. So they resemble the union of more than two or three bones. Now, for example, in the anterolateral fontanelles, you are able to see a frontal, parietal, and also the greater wing of the sphenoid and the squamous part of the temporal bone. So when it is fused, naturally this point of fusion is actually called as the bragma, and here posteriorly what you see is actually the lambda. Now these fontanelles mainly facilitate three things. One is they help to bone development. Okay, so they help in growth of the bone. Okay, second thing, they also help in growth of the brain tissue. And third thing is when the child is descending through the birth canal during the parturition or labor, what happens is these fontanelles allow these bones to overlap to some extent. So that means the skull is somewhat flexible so that it can easily descend through the vaginal canal during the childbirth. So these are three main important things which represent the functions of the fontanelles. So mostly all these fontanelles they close usually by 2 years of age. Okay, so they completely get ossified. So up to 2 years of age you can see the fontanelles. Okay, so next, the spontaneous also has some clinical significance, so which I have already discussed that in the introductory class of the head and neck. So now if you look at the sutures, if you carefully look at the sutures, they are of different types. So the first type is a plain type of sutures. Okay, so mainly you come across in the palate, interpalatine suture between the two horizontal plate of palatine bone. So that is called as the interpalatine suture. The next is actually squamous. So that means they are flat. You are able to see the articulating ends are flat, and that is